Buenas tardes y bienvenidos a Conversaciones de Salud. Mi nombre es Carmen Robles and I'm your hostess. Welcome to Conversaciones de Salud. I'm Carmen Robles, the director of Conversaciones de Salud web show and our monthly bilingual e-newsletter. We will give you information on where to sign up at the end and subscribe so that we can be informed. We welcome your questions. We welcome your comments. Please feel free to use the chat. We're happy to have an engaging conversation. And I would like to introduce to you my right-hand person here is Paulina Lopez Valencia. And she's coming all the way, she's coming to us all the way from Mexico. Paulina, saluda a las personas y vamos a empezar el show.
Thank you, Carmen. Hello, everyone. Hola, buenas tardes a todos.
So today we have an exciting show. We're going to be talking about pain management. And so I'm going to have Paulina do the introduction in Spanish, and then I'll follow it up in English.
Thank you. Partners4PAIN es una colaboración emocionante entre pacientes, miembros de la comunidad, organizaciones e investigadores. Ellos reúnen personas para escuchar, aprender, desarrollar y evaluar soluciones creativas para el manejo del dolor y la crisis de los opioides.
Muchísimas gracias. So for us Spanglish speakers, Partners4PAIN, Better Together. Partners4PAIN is an exciting collaboration between patients, community members, organizations, and researchers. Partners4PAIN bring people together to listen, to learn, develop, and evaluate creative solutions to pain and the opioid crisis. We have an exciting team here leading the work in having this study that we're beginning in September, I believe, but we'll get more into that in a few minutes. These are our guests, and we'll come back and introduce you. We're going to go into a video right now, just a quick video para dejar las personas saber qué es researching y la importancia de tener estos estudios. So it's a short video, and if we could give it a go, that would be wonderful. Gracias. I can't hear it. No se oye.
Yes, one moment.
Okay, thank you.
Hola, la Oficina de Protecciones para la Investigación Humana, OHRP en inglés, creó estos videos para que entienda lo que es participar como voluntario en investigaciones científicas. Decidir si va a servir de voluntario o no puede ser una decisión difícil y tener consecuencias importantes. Por eso este video le provee datos básicos para ayudarle en esta decisión. La palabra investigación se usa para describir muchas cosas, pero en este video se refiere a lo que es pedirle a voluntarios que hagan algo, por ejemplo, tomar un medicamento o hacer una tarea, y a la evaluación de los resultados. Las investigaciones pueden resultar en nuevos descubrimientos en muchas áreas, por ejemplo, en nuevas medicinas para tratar enfermedades como el cáncer o en mejorar programas de educación. En breve, la investigación es el método que usan los científicos y otros profesionales para encontrar soluciones a ciertos problemas para el beneficio de todos. Cada investigación es distinta, ya que los investigadores usan métodos y analizan temas distintos. Por eso, si está considerando participar, debe prestarle mucha atención a los detalles. Puede que usted disfrute el participar, pero es importante que recuerde que el fin de la investigación no es ayudarle a usted personalmente. Puede ser que usted se beneficie de una investigación y no de otra. Una investigación médica es distinta a la atención médica que reciben los pacientes. Cuando recibe atención médica, el fin de sus médicos es tratar su enfermedad. Pero cuando participa en una investigación, el fin de los investigadores es encontrar una solución a lo que investigan, y pueda que por eso no le ofrezcan el mismo cuidado que a un paciente. Puede ser que participar en una investigación no le ayude a usted, o que en algunos casos hasta le cause daño. Por eso es importante que antes de decidir, usted averigüe todo lo que pueda. Esperamos que este video haya contestado sus preguntas más básicas sobre lo que es la investigación científica y que le haya dado en qué pensar. Tomar la decisión de participar puede ser complicado. No tema pedir más información o expresar sus inquietudes. Los investigadores son responsables de darle toda la información que necesite. OHRP ha creado una lista de preguntas para ayudarle a decidir si debe participar o no. Imprima y llévese esta lista cuando se reúna con el equipo de investigación para que le ayude a recordar lo que debe preguntar. Para imprimir la lista y obtener más información, vaya a la página web de OHRP en www.hhs.gov/about-research-participation.
Muy bien, gracias. Esta es la información bien básica y no tienen que escribirle a www.gov porque tenemos los expertos aquí, el panel que son los researchers, los investigadores, y vamos a empezar a hablar con ellos para que ellos nos dejen saber qué es la investigación que estamos haciendo sobre el dolor de espalda y el dolor de cuello. Tenemos un panel aquí muy, very prestigious, no sé cómo decirlo en español porque soy bien spanglish, pero tenemos a Erica Kennedy, y Erica Kennedy is a Community Coordinator, Partners for Pain, Integrative Health and Wellbeing Research Program, University of Minnesota. Un compañero muy amable con quien yo estoy trabajando, Doug Kennedy, and Doug Kennedy is a co-investigator for Partners for Pain. Gracias, Paulina. And he's a co-investigator, Partners for Pain. He's a PhD, and he's with the Integrative Health and Wellbeing Research Program, U of M. And también following Doug, we have, ¿a quién más tenemos aquí? Brett. And Brent is a PhD.
Yep, that's what like.
And I think somebody's got their mic on. Thank you. And he's a private.
Yes, that's what we're having.
Hi. I'm sorry, I wasn't sure if somebody was asking a question. But Brent, hi, bienvenido, PhD, DC, primary investigator, Partners for Pain, Integrative Health and Wellbeing Research Program, again, University of Minnesota. And we have Dr. Linda Hansen, DC, MS, co-investigator, study coordinator, Partners for Pain, Integrative Health and Wellbeing Research Program, U of M, University of Minnesota.
And we have Dr. Alfonso Morales too here.
And we have Dr. Alfonso Morales. Bienvenido.
Bienvenido, gracias.
Gracias por estar con nosotros. Dr. Morales is a great associate working with Conversaciones de Salud in the Latino community, talking about pain management. He's a board-certified pain and addiction specialist who also practices regenerative medicine, and he's been in the profession of pain management for almost 20 years. Let's start with Dr. Morales. ¿A dónde usted está? No lo veo.
Can you see me?
Let me see. Can we see you now?
Yes.
No. So I have something here that it's a break point. On my end, it's not clear. Everybody's squished together. So I'm not sure if that's a technical thing.
Oh, no, it's okay.
Okay, pues then we'll go on with the show. Dr. Morales, did you see the video that we just played, this little short video on what is research and why it's important to be a participant of these research studies, and I wondered if you could please address our audience en español para que los padres que estén con nosotros and will be listening to the show will immediately be engaged in their language, and then we can follow up con el inglés. Pero usted puede hablar un poquito sobre eso.
Sí, sí, claro que sí. Sí, yo soy el doctor Morales y mucho gusto. Sobre todo, es importante comprender el problema del dolor. El dolor, sobre todo, no solamente en la población general, pero donde es importante también es en las minorías, donde muchas veces no se reconoce suficientemente por estigmas o por alguna perjuicios de que la población probablemente no tenemos tanto dolor como la población blanca, ¿no? Caucásica. Entonces, eso siempre ha sido un problema. Se han estudiado por muchos años, más de 20 años, se hizo un estudio sobre eso y que podemos hablar un poquito más de varios hispanos que iban a urgencias y en urgencias tenían fracturas y aún no les daban la medicina adecuada en comparación con el resto de la población caucásica. Entonces, eso tiene ya bastantes años, se hizo como 25, 30 años ese estudio. Y a partir de eso, ahora con la crisis de opioides, es todavía más importante tratar el dolor. Hay procedimientos que no requieren de opioides o requieren de analgésicos, sino que ahora con las nuevas tecnologías podemos hacer otro tipo de intervenciones que ayudan muchísimo y son mucho más específicas al dolor que uno puede tener. Y la mayoría de los dolores son artríticos, dolores de espalda, de columna o post-trauma, y vemos también dolores reumáticos, y luego pues un porcentaje menor que es cáncer, ¿no? Que eso sí se trata mucho más agresivo, sobre todo cuando es cáncer ya final, ¿no? Pero lo importante de esto y de la Universidad de Minnesota es que están haciendo estudios dentro de la comunidad y es muy, muy importante como hispano participar en estos estudios aleatorios. Son estudios aleatorios y porque no hay suficiente representación. La gente no nos puede ayudar a nosotros si no tenemos suficiente evidencia de que tenemos problemas. Entonces es importante participar, sobre todo si uno es candidato. Y pues llamar ahí a la Universidad de Minnesota, aquí a Partners4PAIN, para ver si nos pueden, si son candidatos para ser aceptados al estudio.
Y doctor Morales, este estudio va a ser para la espalda, dolor de espalda y dolor de cuello. ¿Por qué usted cree que es importante para las personas que tienen este tipo de dolor de participar? Y yo entiendo que es para que tener más información, pero para ellos que están participando, ¿qué le traen a ellos mismos?
Claro, sí, bueno, como había dicho, la mayoría de los de la causa del dolor crónico, estamos hablando de dolor crónico, no dolor agudo, ¿verdad? Dolor
Sí.
crónico son las patología artrítica, ¿sí? Artritis en la espalda, artritis en el cuello, en la espalda. Entonces, artritis quiere decir degeneración de la espina conforme nos estamos haciendo grandes y sobre todo si la gente se ha dedicado mucho al trabajo físico, tenemos más riesgo de tener un accidente de trabajo también. Entonces, todo eso es muy importante. Eso es la causa más importante de dolor, ¿no? La espalda. Es importante participar porque los opioides no son, o la medicina analgésica no es la solución, o sea, sino puede empeorar el problema de la crisis de opioides, se puede uno volver dependiente, farmacodependiente. Entonces es importante participar en estos estudios para ver qué otro tipo de terapias podemos, eso es lo importante. Ellos están estudiando qué tipo de terapias podemos utilizar.
¿Y usted cree, porque este estudio viene de la Universidad de Minnesota, que eso da más valor a este estudio?
Claro que sí, la Universidad de Minnesota es muy bien reconocida en los Estados Unidos y en todo el mundo también. Entonces, de ahí se generan muchas publicaciones y estudios científicos. Siempre ha tenido una reputación.
Pues porque usted sabe que en nuestra comunidad le tenemos que tener confianza a algo, tenemos miedo de hablar de nuestro dolor, que pensamos que van a querer mucha información que no queremos dar, pero usted piensa que debieran tener la confianza con este estudio y con el panel que están aquí hoy hablando sobre esto.
Claro que sí, sí, es muy importante tener confianza. Sí, aquí esta es gente de confianza, sumamente de confianza, de una universidad de gran reconocimiento en todos Estados Unidos y en el mundo también. Entonces, lo repito, o sea, aquí uno puede ir aquí con los ojos cerrados, ¿no? Está uno en muy buen cuidado y sobre todo ahora que hay una gran atención a este problema.
Ay, muchas gracias por decir eso. I wonder if you wouldn't mind summarizing that real quickly. We've gotten some chats asking for it in English too, and so I thought while you're on the role of creating the sense of trust and also giving the accolades that the University of Minnesota so well deserves, if you could just summarize it real quick for our bilingual audience.
Bilingual audience, okay. Yeah, so I'll repeat, I'm Dr. Morales. I've been in pain management for close to 30 years now in the community. And also I'm an addiction specialist, so I know on both sides what the problem is. But what I want to make sure to the Hispanic community out there, it's very important. We have been underrepresented in many of the studies for causes of pain and treatments of pain. There's a great disparity, health disparity in the way minorities and Hispanics, which is a very important proportion of minority group in the United States, have been treated, especially with new interventions for pain. I mean, I see it all the time, and when it comes to chronic pain, and I'm talking about chronic pain, Hispanics have less access to interventions. For example, spinal injections, spinal stimulators, and I'm talking about axial back pain and neck pain. And Hispanics are very much vulnerable because a lot of them work in highly physical, labor-intensive type of jobs and have workman's comp injuries and so on that require these treatments. And it's evident that sometimes they don't want to do any surgeries and they put them on medications and so on. So it now compounds the issue. So I think in summary, it's important for Hispanics to participate in University of Minnesota studies, because University of Minnesota has high reputation and not only in the United States, but around the world. And they are very recognized, and people should not be afraid or scared to go to this institution and get these participate in these studies if they are candidates.
Thank you so much. We have a remark in the chat that says from Rosita, also in our culture, we have been trained to aguantar y aguantar, to just hold on and hold on. We can't measure when it's really a serious situation to ask for painkillers. And so what's your response to aguantar el dolor y no te apure?
Yes, no, a study well done about over 25 years ago. They were looking at different races and how they responded to pain. And it was quite evident that, for example, the Hispanics and people of Scandinavian origin were the most stoic, that we wouldn't express pain unless we would be in silence. And it was interesting to see. And then, of course, Italians, I'm just saying what the study said, Italians tended to be a little more vocal. African-Americans were more vocal as well. And Caucasians tended to be also low pain threshold too. So I mean, interesting study, but yes, I think it has to do more with culture than it has to do with genetics. I think it has to do more with the cultural,
Con la
and
cultura.
how to express pain.
Oh, and in closing, what advice would you give our researchers as they work so diligently to be inclusive and to understand all the different cultures and you know, talking about such a personal thing as pain? Or I find that they're very they really want to be careful, to be inclusive, and they want to help build that trust. And so could you give them a little bit of advice in when approaching our community?
Yes, or me? Is the question for me? Or?
Yeah, well, I want to start with you.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Well, I think you have mentioned this. I think actually last week. I think Carmen. We are a very heterogeneous ethnic group. I mean, we have a lot of races in there, so it's one of the reasons why it's so tough to study the Hispanic communities, because we are, you know, we're all over in terms of we're an ethnic group. We're not a racial group. I mean, there's Afro-Latins, mainly Black Hispanics, that are comprise about 9% of the population. Then you have people of more European ancestry, white ancestry, though you'll see them blue-eyed, blind, but they consider themselves Hispanic as well. And then we have in between, you know, natives, more of natives meaning people of indigenous of origin, and combined with Spanish heritage or mestizos, we're mixed. You know, and I mean, just an example myself, you know, I did my ancestry.com. I came out a quarter Jewish, Italian, Portuguese, I think a little bit of Irish, and like 35% came out indigenous, you know, from Mexico. So I mean, we are all over the place. And so it's important to understand that it's more of a cultural difference than the racial situation.
Yes, and I have to say that I'm so impressed with their with the way that they're handling this and approaching our community to make sure that we are counted in and have you know, those studies that are so necessary to be able to affect us and to see what's best for us. So I want to thank you so much, and I know I told you didn't have to, you know, you could just come in. I know your schedule is very busy, but please stay with us and meet this wonderful team of researchers over at the U of M. And if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to go over to Doug Kennedy. He's the main researcher that I've been working with, and he's been just extraordinary, as they all have, in helping get the word out, create the buzz, create the trust. And as you know, in our community, we also have the stigma of not having documents, perhaps, and so then that causes trauma, and so it's not an easy thing to navigate. And so the researchers are very, very diligent in making sure that our community understands that has nothing to do with anything. What they're interested in is how we can collect this information. But Doug, if you wouldn't mind just coming in and saying hello and meeting Dr. Morales. I know you've met him in the past, and but if you would please share with us your thoughts.
Sure. Gracias, Carmen, and buenas tardes a todos.
Gracias.
And Dr. Morales, it's good to see you again. We passed briefly at the Spin Studios before. I want to just pick up on one piece, actually, because I think we may have been reading the same literature. Our team has, as part of our project in Partners for Pain, we have our studies. We are gathering people's stories about pain. We're seeking community feedback to make sure that we're doing a good job, to make sure that we're walking the walk as well as talking the talk. But a lot of our work, too, is in public dissemination around good information around pain and engaging communities around pain. And Carmen will actually be moderating our next conversation on the 27th. And the title of this community conversation is Living Well with Pain, Cultural Considerations and Treatment. And we're talking about the very same things. In Dr. Morales, I think we were reading the same article where it was breaking down how patients are presenting pain, how it's emotional, when they're seeking care, right? And that what they found is an effective intervention on that is how the provider is reading it. It's on the provider to make sure that they're understanding that, not on the patients. And they may be approaching it from very different pieces. So we hope that this audience will attend that talk. We've got a great panel. Again, this is part of an ongoing series of conversations. But in terms of, in addition to the kind words that have been said about our study, I'm really excited about the work that we're doing. And a lot of that comes from, this is a community engaged research project, which means that we're working with communities from tip to tail, from how are we examining this? What can we do better to reach our community members? How can we involve them in materials, in our outreach, not just in recruitment, but then what do we do afterwards? And one thing that I've really been excited about too is that, well, once you have a study that's done, how does it then translate back into the community? How is it utilized? Well, how can it be put to use? Our team knows a lot about, for example, writing NIH grants, which are highly, specific. That's a specific type of writing. But we don't know about community grants, but we have now then data that can then help community members or organizations write these grants to benefit community, or what can we do with these interventions so they're accessible? I guess the last piece I'll say, because we've got Erica Rivera Kennedy here, who's really has been instrumental in being able to amplify our voice too and grow, because reaching out to communities, all across our metro is important. But it's been a pleasure, Carmen, to get to work with you. Carmen, is part of our community advisory team with other professionals, members of the community, to make sure that our research is relevant, to make sure that it's responding to community needs. It's been a pleasure to, whether it's a coffee or just being able to catch up on Zoom and explain, like, as Dr. Morales has said, like, let's not be scared about research, but here's what people can expect because we do have attitudes about it. And how do we better communicate that to community members? So Erica, I know I've been talking a lot, and Carmen, be okay if we bring in Erica?
Yes, please.
To talk about this
thank
too,
you.
because, okay,
Thank you very much. And I also want to make sure that you understand that Conversaciones de Salud is committed to taking a lead on this with not only our web shows, but with our e-newsletter. So we hope to keep that conversation going. It's not just a one stop, one shop and see you. But muchísimas gracias. And Erica, bienvenida. Que viva México. Hay muchos mexicanos hoy aquí, qué placer. Pero por favor, share your thoughts, what you do, and your recruitment efforts and all of that good stuff.
Ok, primeramente, gracias por invitarme y gracias que me pone en la silla difícil aquí.
Usted está acostumbrada a eso, no se haga, ¿ok?
Sí, no, hago la loquita aquí, pero bueno, no, pues estoy muy agradecida que me invitaste y tiene razón, quiero reforzar lo que Doug y el doctor Morales acaban de decir. Creo que lo que es más importante o lo que estoy muy agradecida es de que estamos tomando en cuenta la parte cultural. Rosita lo dijo muy bien. Nosotros como cultura estamos acostumbrados a aguantarnos con el dolor, a pensar que es algo, lo normalizamos. Pensamos que vivir con dolor está bien. Y realmente no lo es. Y nosotros también como cultura no tenemos un sistema que vamos al doctor cada año a hacer nuestro chequeo médico, nada de eso, eso no lo tenemos. Nosotros solo vamos al doctor cuando ya estamos desesperadamente, que no aguantamos el dolor, que ya nos está debilitado tanto que no podemos hacer algo. Entonces, el hecho de participar en este estudio es de que podemos también tener cierta educación para nuestra comunidad, enseñarles cómo podemos prevenir el dolor, cómo hay otras formas, como dijo el doctor Morales, aparte de los opioides, cómo podemos manejar el dolor sin llegar a ese extremo y también, si es necesario, cómo podemos controlarlo y manejarlo. Entonces, algo muy importante que la Universidad de Minnesota estamos haciendo es tratar no solo de invitarlos a que participen, pero queremos que se sientan cómodos participando. Hemos traducido la mayoría de la literatura para que ellos tengan toda la información en español. También estamos tratando y eventualmente vamos a hacer todas las enseñanzas, la educación en español completamente. Estamos quitando todas las barreras. Lo que si la comunidad latina tiene una barrera para venir por el transporte, vamos a proveer el transporte. Si es el lenguaje, vamos a ponerlo en español. Si te sientes cómodo porque si son los documentos o piensas que te van a sacar sangre, nada de eso. Estamos eliminando cada barrera para que la comunidad latina se sienta muy cómoda y les sea placentero participar en estos estudios, y también que no solo sea placentero, pero que también puedan dar su opinión libremente y nosotros considerar cómo se sienten ellos para adaptar un programa que les ayude a hacerlo más equitativo en esa manera.
Eso es la necesidad de nosotros. Y si familias tienen un chorro de hijos, también puede asistir con eso, y también va a ser virtual, ¿verdad que sí?
Sí, vamos a ver si lo quieren hacer en persona, se les va a poner transportación. Si lo quieren hacer en línea, de hecho va a haber programas para ayudarles a poder hacerlo en línea, y se les va a asistir en cualquier forma, sea tecnológicamente o en persona.
Muy bien, yo pienso que eso es exactamente lo que necesitamos. Muchas gracias. Vamos a hablar with our other panels here. We wanted to talk about what people should care about pain, and I was going to ask Brent and Linda to kind of, chime in and just share with us that why should people care about pain?
Yeah, thanks. Go ahead, Linda, if you want to start.
Sure, yeah. Thank you so much, Carmen, for having us here today. It's really a privilege to be talking with this community. I think, bottom line is that pain impacts a lot of people. It's one of the, more impactful and disabling conditions in the world. And statistically, all of us will experience it or know someone who's impacted by it. Also, the individual consequences of the impact of pain is really significant. It impacts our ability to care for ourselves and our loved ones, children, family. It can prevent people from being able to work or contribute to their work life in a meaningful way. It affects our mental health, our relationships, our abilities to carry out our purpose and lead meaningful lives. So the impact is really significant. There's also, moving away from the individual impact, there's an impact on our communities and our society as a whole, not only our healthcare systems, but the workforce, et cetera. So that's why I care about it and really have, it's our mission to understand this better and find better ways to care for people who have it.
Wow, that's a powerful statement there, especially when you mentioned the workforce, because that's our economic foundation, not only for families, but for our country. And so thank you very much. And Brent, could you chime in a little bit and piggyback on this?
Yeah, so I echo Linda, thank you for having us here and having this conversation. And I'm glad you brought up the workforce piece. Like, back pain is actually the #1 reason across the world that people leave the workforce. And so as a condition, back and neck pain have this huge toll on society. And there's growing evidence for different treatments that can help people manage it. But as you mentioned earlier, access isn't always easy or equitable. And so that's kind of that is the genesis of this project, is can we develop self-management tools for individuals and get them into the community so that you can kind of bypass these access related issues around the healthcare system in the United States. And so that's what the project is focusing on, is community-based self-management program, and then making sure that it's responsive to community. So like Doug was saying, hearing from community on how can we do this better, both the program, but also our research processes, so that when we do this project, we can be more inclusive and have more individuals participate and get their feedback in, so that at the end of the day, if it's successful, we can leave community with this scalable program that can be taken by the Hispanic community, the Black community, white community, multiple, a self-management program that would meet the needs of many different communities.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you so much. I wanted to share a couple of remarks on the chat. One is also there's medicine mistrust. Most of us prefer alternative ways. And then we have another chat here, and it says from Daniel Vega, we need an organizational approach to disseminate information on this issue. Our children have been and will continue to die if we don't get the word out. I'm sorry, but I'm not just sensing the urgency. Thank you, Daniel. And Daniel is a community leader, and he works at schools with children and families. And he's also an advocate for alternatives, as is Rosita. But I wondered if anybody wanted to respond to this comment, or if we can just go on, or...
Yeah, I can
Please,
respond.
thank you.
Yeah, and it's really, I'm glad you brought that up, Danielle, because that's was like early talks of this project. We were remarking some of the same things, that back pain and neck pain are so common, and it's going to impact nearly everyone. But public knowledge about what to expect and what is, what are serious signs, what are less serious signs, what are some common things that you can do on your own and feel empowered to do on your own to help manage it, and what are some of the more serious signs where you need to be worried, or not necessarily worried, but you need to seek counsel with somebody within the healthcare system. So a lot of that was kind of the impetus for us saying we need something more community-based, so that we can start educating the public around this very prevalent and impactful condition, and start to raise the bar in terms of what the knowledge is, and so people feel empowered to know what can they do on their own, and when do they need to seek help from a provider.
Thank you very much, Danielle. I hope that helped answer your question and concern. Please feel free to use the chat box and continue this part of the conversation. So Brent, while I have you on here, one of our questions is prevalence of pain. So can you speak, and perhaps you've touched upon it, but if you could directly talk about the prevalence of pain.
Yeah, I can. And Linda spoke to it a little bit. I mean, almost all of us will be impacted at some point in our life by back or neck pain. It often starts as just, an episode, but one of the best predictors for having future problems is past problems. And so it starts like you have an episode maybe in your teenage years. Often many people have it in adolescence, which is kind of speaking back to that earlier question, why we need to start at a young age informing people like this is a common thing. This is what you can expect. For a few, it becomes more persistent, right? Roughly a third of the population experiences chronic persistent back or neck pain, and that's where it gets to be more impactful. And where you start to see more of the disparities. So pain that starts to impact people's ability to do their daily jobs or their work around the house. That's roughly 10% of the population, but it impacts Hispanic populations more. It impacts Black Americans more. It impacts females more than males. If you're in a rural setting, you're more likely to have that more impactful chronic pain than if you're in an urban setting. And so once you start moving down the spectrum to where it's more impactful, that's where the disparities really start to show up more strikingly.
Wow, thank you so much. It doesn't matter how many times it's answered. It's always like adds more value to it and expands the picture of what pain is and that's early signs. And as Danielle was saying, with younger people and stuff I never even thought of, you have a pain, then work it out. Do something, move around. So it's good to know that this is something that is affecting a great portion of our population, and it isn't just me feeling, I should move more or I should do this or not do that. So I want to thank you very much. HEAL. If someone would like to talk about HEAL and the acronym of what HEAL is, and why this work is important with opioids, pain management, disparities, and health equity. I've got on my list Erica, Doug, and Brent. So if you want to keep on or pass it, I don't want to put you in the spot. But
So Erica, I think, was pointing. It looked like she was pointing at a couple of us.
But I can't see who you're pointing at.
Depending on how our screens are arranged, that could be anyone. Paulina, you're on.
Yeah.
I did share this link with one of our participants as well. I think it's really a good one for some general information. And the YouTube video, Heal is Hope, is really worth taking a look. So I'm going to paste that in the chat right now.
Thank you.
Because it gives an overview that while we're working on neck and back pain, and looking at health disparities, there's a lot more to this. This is a huge program. So what we're concerned with is that we're sort of inhabiting these three sort of areas in research. It's neck and back pain, and then health disparities, and then the intersection of opioids within that too. So being able to understand that, Brent, I think when we were talking, you actually brought this up in one of our conversations earlier, actually, when we were talking with a group of scholars at UROC. I think this is right. It's the number 2 reason, back and neck pain, and number 2 reason why opioids are prescribed. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, and then look at this, and it's also, when we look at neck and back pain, it's the thing that we spend the most money on, but that's not evenly distributed too. So that's certain populations. We need to pay attention to this because of those intersections. And what can we do in terms of turning that corner as people experience health disparities, where solutions that we can have outside of the healthcare system for people that may not have access or that are mistreated within the healthcare system, because we know that care is not equitable in this country. I would invite our audience to take a look at that website. It gives you a ton of details so you can get the full scope of what we're trying to do and how we fit in it. We're researchers, so we can fit a specific piece in that pie. But we're part of this larger network, and part of also the larger conversation that involves community members, our patients, and other researchers as well. Brent or Linda or Erica, is there anything else that you want to add to this?
Yes, please.
Yeah, just that the statistics that come out on the opioid crisis are a bit sobering, and every time I'm at a conference where they're presenting on it kind of takes the air out of the room. Like, to hear that more young adults die from opioid overdoses than from COVID at the height of COVID, that's a bit sobering. And so there's a real reason that finally this important topic is getting the attention it deserves, so that we can start looking at what are ways that we can empower individuals to use safer methods to care for themselves and try to avoid further addiction.
Right, those alternative methods that Rosita mentioned in her chat, besides pain medication. So thank you. Erica, did you? Oh, I'm sorry, Doug.
Erica, I don't mean to take away your words. So forgive me for a second. I'll be really, really quick. So Carmen, you've actually had a number of webinars and broadcasts in your work too, talking about that human toll, and that's really important. I just want to underscore that about Brent. And you've been really instrumental in showing that and highlighting it, that, we have patients, participants that come into our office, and they're talking about family members too. This person was lost because of this. And that's that. As they're thinking about research, this is why I want to participate, because it has this personal impact, right? I can help the community by being part of this, So Erica, what were you going to say? I'll be quiet now.
Thank you, Doug.
Oh, it's very important what you say. So, no, basically, is I just, sorry, I'm gonna hablar en español. Se me
Sí,
olvidó.
por favor.
So, es muy importante para nuestra comunidad poder participar. Y primeramente estoy nuevamente agradecida que podemos tener este espacio. Una es para disminuir estas disparidades en nuestra comunidad, porque es la falta de cuidado médico o hay gente que tiene cierto cuidado médico, pero es muy limitado, y también que el cuidado médico que estamos recibiendo no es adecuado para las necesidades de nuestra comunidad. Entonces, al participar nosotros en este estudio, lo cual quería decir que algo también importante es que en nuestra comunidad, cuando hablamos de un estudio, nos da miedo porque pensamos que vamos a tener que donar sangre y nos van a checar la orina y nos van a preguntar toda nuestra información de nuestro pasado. Y en este estudio no es así. Es un estudio muy, muy, muy amistoso, es muy cómodo, donde básicamente lo que vamos a hacer es hablar cómo nos ha afectado el dolor y hablar de nuestras limitaciones al tener el acceso médico. Y precisamente lo que dijo Doug, la educación de cuáles son otras alternativas. Porque otra cosa que tenemos en nuestra comunidad es la falta de educación de todos los temas de salud. Pero imagínate que, como decimos, el dolor de espalda y de cuello es una causa crónica en todo el mundo. Entonces, es algo grande que nunca hablamos. Y tener este espacio para poder hablarlo es muy importante. Entonces, mi invitación a la comunidad latina es que vengan, hagan la evaluación para ver si ustedes son buenos candidatos para participar y que no tengan miedo, porque van a tener solo aquí un ambiente muy amistoso, que no nos importa nada de tu inmigración, tu social economics, ¿cómo se dice social economics en español? Ya se me olvidó.
¿Nivel socioeconómico?
Sí, ni tu posición
Gracias.
social, ni tu posición social, ni económica, no tiene nada que ver. Nosotros solo queremos que tú vengas, te sientas cómodo, y vamos a quitar todas las barreras para que ustedes se sientan cómodos participando, y que esto eventualmente sea un programa más grande para poder tener recursos mejores para nuestra comunidad.
Eso, información muy importante, y por eso la conversación es tan, it's perfect timing to have this conversation because of all of the issues with opioid overdoses and fentanyl and new drugs coming in, and so if we could teach our community to be able to tener la confianza de hablar de su dolor, entonces eso habla más, abre la puerta para todo el mundo tener más conversaciones. Y le quiero dar las gracias a todos ustedes por estar aquí. Por eso yo quería preguntarle a Linda about the role of community in this work, including research. If you might please speak to that.
Certainly, yeah. In this particular project, we, committed to working with our communities for different reasons. And, one of the important reasons behind this was to try and better understand the needs of the communities that we're trying to serve, and that we're trying to have more representation in our research projects. So by working with them to understand needs, how we approach members of their communities, how we share information, what matters to them, how can we serve them? So by engaging in conversations, by asking our participants directly, what can we do better? How can we learn from you to better serve? Has been instrumental in getting us to where we are. And I think as a result of those conversations that will continue, our processes and our research in general has improved. I know that others can probably speak to this who've had direct connections with our community, like you, Carmen and Erica.
Yes, I'm really very honored and proud to be part of this because it speaks directly to the health within our community and all the trauma that our community goes through just adds to the physical pain. And so I think this is why I was so excited to do this conversation, so we can start. I think we need to have more, and we need to continue to educate and to make sure that we share this important information, and also the trust to coming and trusting the researchers and trusting that we're not walking into something unexpected and not knowing. Doug often tells me there's not going to be any, surprises. It's not going to be any hidden agendas, any last minute anything. So I want to thank all of you for reiterating this and making sure that the word goes out. I was wondering, Paulina, if we could go to the slides where that talks about the project and what we can expect. We have some slides to help with the conversation and the right here about the project. So whoever wants to start it, perhaps Linda, you're right on screen. Maybe you can just share about the project.
Sure, yeah. So again, Partners for Pain, it's an NIH-funded project. It brings together people in our communities, so sufferers of pain sufferers, leaders in our community, researchers, healthcare providers. And the whole goal, as Brent attested to, is to find accessible ways for people to feel empowered to care for themselves and to manage their pain. So that's really what I think this slide represents. I don't know if anyone wants to add anything before you hit the next slide.
And any takers? Okay, let's continue then. We're on a roll here.
Sure, and you can see that this slide really identifies the three main goals that this project has, and that is to create resources that meet people's needs. That's certainly been a theme today, and meet the needs of everybody in our community, not just specific groups or specific individuals. Our goal is to cultivate community partnerships and to make pain management in general more equitable and accessible, again, for everyone in our community and not just certain people.
Yeah, those are fabulous goals, and they're very attainable and achievable goals. So I'm very happy to see the priorities being placed on this. And if the panel doesn't have anything to add, we can go to the next slide.
Maybe one thing.
Yes, thank you.
Because these are very broad, right? Like these project goals, and I think you've seen, and Erica has seen this too. That there's a lot that happens behind the scenes on this, right? And as scientists, we're definitely trying to learn about the condition. We're trying to learn about the interventions, but we also have this idea too about disseminating how you do the work, right? How do you develop equitable community partnerships? How do you have these, the methods in which you're learning about communities so that other scientists can do a good job? Because we still know that, this, not like that it is rare, but there's a need for this. And people are curious, like, how do you replicate this? And there's we need to work with our community partners, our CAT team, to get that message out as well. So there's an eye. So when people do provide feedback to our studies, it's with that eye towards making improvements towards science writ large as well.
Well, that's exciting, because it's not just a one-stop shop and then it goes away, tomorrow or whatever, but you're actually building a foundation that can stand strong, and we can talk about not only this kind of pain, but I'm sure in the future, many more studies. So thank you very much for that. And while we have you on, let's go to the next slide. So tell us why this project matters.
Sure, I can speak to this. And I think we've talked to probably most of these points, but this is kind of the whole setup and the argument that we made to the funding agency, and why this project matters and why it's needed. regarding just how prevalent back and neck pain is, how it's the leading cause of disability across the globe. I think Doug mentioned that it's the second most common reason for opioid prescriptions. And so it's very prevalent, it's very disabling. It's where we spend most of our money. We spend more money on the care of back and neck pain than any other health condition in the United States, more than cancer, more than heart disease. And while there's a number of more invasive treatments that have their indications, there's been criticism within the US healthcare system that they're often overused. So things like opioids, injections, and surgery. And there's growing evidence base for alternative methods like we talked about. So pain education, exercise, mindfulness, yoga, cognitive behavioral strategies. So there's evidence that these therapies are helpful, but there's access issues and disparities in terms of who has access to them and who can actually use them. And that's why we're trying to take a more community-based approach so that we can avoid some of the access issues where it's not necessarily whether you have health insurance or not, or how close you live to a clinic or not, but that we develop a program that could be shared broadly and used by any community organization so that the content around how to take care of yourself is baked into the program. You just need someone to help facilitate the conversations around it and help with the implementation of the evidence-based strategies. And so that's the overall goal for the project. And
Those
that might
are exciting goals, really, when you look at the whole picture, and it's so well laid out. It's the dominoes effect. You hit one, then it goes to the next, and before you know it, you have something of value that actually will get into our community and have us become more and more aware. So I'm really excited. I mentioned to Doug the other day that it's not where you start, but where you finish. And so I believe this project is a 5-year project. And so I'm very excited to be at the very forefront of it and to see how the building blocks will have an effect. So this is a wonderful visual to see. Paulina, do we have another slide?
Yes.
Okay, gracias. How about participating in the project? Who would like to take this one? Panel members?
Linda, I think this is kind of your area of expertise, especially. Do you think you could grab this?
Yeah,
Thank you.
sure,
Sure.
certainly, yeah. So we're looking to work with folks who have back or neck pain, and they've had it for a sustained period of time, and we define that as 3 months. So at least 3 months of sort of consistent back or neck pain. We're only accepting adults at this time, so you have to be at least 18 years of age or older, but there's no upper limit. And then folks have to identify as being part of a racial or ethnic group, or have a household income that's less than $50,000 per year, because these are the folks that tend to be underrepresented in research, and it's harder for them to have, access to care for this condition. We do provide compensation to folks who participate in our study. We've got different visits that allow us to determine if you in fact have the type of pain we're looking to study and if it's safe for you to study. And we compensate people for attending those. And then we have a 9-week program that we would put people through. They're compensated for attending those and as well as for completing surveys, which is a really important part of this study. It gives us that really critical information we need to determine if people like our programs and how they work. So they can join that long study, that randomized study. They can provide feedback to us based on their experience as a pain sufferer, and then share their story. And we also compensate folks for involving themselves that way.
Oh, thank
Anything
you
to
so
add?
much.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much for the nitty-gritty, the 101 of what. And if anyone has anything to add, or is there another slide we can go to,
Yes,
Paulina?
we have 2 more.
Okay.
Well, and one thing about this too, people have been really excited, like when we've been out at community events, for example, and to get the program rolling, to get involved in it is really to go to our website, which I can put in the chat too. But once they're there, people can then find ways to participate. And there's a big red button that says join a study, or you can follow it up on the top menu. And you'll see that there's a survey there. So people, when they start that, it will ask them some questions. And, Erica had spoken about, it's very comfortable. We're not asking about documentation status or healthcare insurance, things like that. But there are questions where, as Linda pointed out, we're trying to figure out, do you have the right kind of pain? Is this going to be a good fit? So once people enter their information into that, they hit submit, then our team contacts them, whether it's by phone or by email. Thanks, Linda. And she just put the chat in, or put the website in the chat. And then we can get going, but we have to make that connection. In some ways, it's almost like dating. You have to make that ask first, right? To get things happening, to let people know that you're out there. And I think, as Erica had also said, our team really takes this serious, really puts the patients first, and there's a lot of care. We do say in like our consenting, when we're telling people about the study, it's like, you are irreplaceable, and really understanding that patient may be nervous, have a lot of questions,
yes,
and caring for that, because they are the most important thing, and their safety is the most important thing.
Yes, and I really, really like that. You always bring that to the forefront. That's always like the beginning of the conversations, are to provide space that's safe, that we can create trust. So thank you for bringing that out. How about our next slide, which is our next slide here? And I think you talked a little bit about this, how to join the study, doing that first survey to just kind of see if it's the right fit and all of that. And of course, sharing your story. So if a person is for some reason is not part of the actual study itself, they can share other things. And you want to just talk about that for a moment? Whoever would like that. Doug, thank you.
Brent, would you like to talk about? I saw you on mute.
Yeah, I can talk about that. So we have,
thank you.
Yep. So there's multiple options how people want to be involved. There's the clinical trial portion of the study where you're participating in the 9-week program. That's a little more involved. And so, not everyone might be interested in that. If you're not, there's other ways. So you can go on and let us know that you're interested in telling us about your story. That's what the sharing your story is about. And so then we get back in touch with you. We're planning on doing that later in the fall into the winter of convening individuals who say they want to share their story and connecting with them and finding out what's important from their standpoint, both within pain management and self-management, but also participating in research. And the other thing that's important is this give feedback. So we gather people's information about what would be helpful, how do we design the programs to make them more accessible and more impactful, right? But sometimes we can go off and do things and maybe we miss the mark. And so this giving feedback is a way for us to check in. Do you want to actually review resources that we're developing as a study team and see if these are meeting the mark in terms of what we finally choose to implement? And so it would be reviewing study materials and giving us your open feedback on what you think might need to change, or if anything needs to change.
Wonderful. And that feedback is so important because it guides. And do you take a right? Do you take a left? Do you keep on going straight? So we encourage that. If you're not able to participate, it doesn't work, to share your stories so that we can get a good sense of where the temperature is in all of this. Thank you so much. And Paulina, do we have another one? What do we have next?
Yes.
And how about these dates?
So this
thank you.
Yeah, these are for people who are interested in the clinical trial part of the project, the pain self-management program. So they're going to be happening in the fall. We have 2 different formats. There's going to be an online format through Zoom that's going to be occurring on Wednesdays from 6:30 to 8. It's going to go from middle of September to the middle of November. We also have an in-person program that's going to happen at URock in North Minneapolis. That's going to be on Saturday mornings. There's 2 classes, so that's why you see the 9 a.m. to 12:30. The actual class is only an hour and a half, but there's 2 different formats of the class. That's why we put 9 to 12:30, and that goes from September, again, middle of September to November. So that's something, if you're interested in that, you would go to the study website and click on the link that Linda provided in the chat. That'll give you more details about the study. And that's the first way to let us know you're interested, to see if you're potentially eligible. And then that would initiate staff from our team to give you a call and discuss the project in more detail.
Great. So these are important dates. Please write them down. And how about the next slide, Paulina? This is where to learn more. The website, a telephone number, and the email. So, Erica, would you like to hablar sobre esto para que la gente sepan a dónde pueden llamar y qué pueden hacer? ¿Usted puede dejarnos con esa información?
Sí, claro que sí, Carmen. Bueno,
Gracias.
¿verdad? Aquí estamos viendo la página de internet de Partners4PAIN. Y está el número de teléfono y asegúrense que si quieren, por lo que sea, por ahora todavía no tenemos toda la página de internet en español, pero pueden llamar y dejar el mensaje y obviamente nosotros nos podemos comunicar con ustedes. Y si si hablan inglés, obviamente pueden comunicarse directamente en línea.
Con permiso, y www. Ese es a donde las personas pueden buscar el survey,
Sí,
la primera.
Hay un link ahí para llenar si ellos califican.
Gracias.
Dejan su información y nosotros nos comunicamos con ustedes.
Ok, so si la persona no habla inglés, todavía pueden llamar y dejar un mensaje y que no se apuren de eso.
Correcto.
Oh, muy bien. Y también Linda escribió en el chat que esto es gratis para las personas participando. Pero los que participan le van a darle un stipend.
Sí. ¿Puedo decir algo rápido, Carmen?
Por favor.
También algo que quisiera que la comunidad no le dé miedo. En el video que pusiste al principio habla sobre los riesgos de participar en un estudio. Y a veces cuando escuchamos esa palabra, la comunidad puede tener miedo de participar. Los riesgos en este estudio son muy mínimos. De hecho, casi no existen. En realidad, el único riesgo que yo veo es de que la gente a veces es sensible cuando quiere compartir su historia personal o cuando está en un grupo. O algunas de las partes en la parte educacional es enseñarles cómo hacer un estiramiento o algo así. Entonces, el sentir un poco de incomodidad. Pero en realidad los beneficios que son mucho más grandes porque pueden ver un mejoramiento en su dolor, pueden ver un mejoramiento en su vida, el aprender más formas de cómo lidiar con su dolor. Entonces no quisiera que piensen que los riesgos son grandes y que por eso les dé miedo participar. En realidad los riesgos son muy mínimos y es mucho más grande el beneficio, aparte del stipend, ¿verdad? Obviamente.
Sí. Ay, qué bueno, gracias por eso, porque esa es la diferencia de algo nacional y de algo que viene de la Universidad de Minnesota. Sí. Y eso para tener la habilidad de uno sentirse cómodo, como dijiste, te agradezco mucho que terminamos con esas palabras porque queremos que la gente se sientan con paz y tranquilidad para hablar sobre su dolor y hablar con su familia y con los vecinos en la iglesia, en la tienda, a donde quiera. Tener esa conversación es tan muy importante. So, Paulina, I'm not sure if we have anything else on the presentation. Or
no, just our contact info. Say thanks to our supporters.
Pues muchas gracias. Could we see our supporters? Because we want to be sure and thank all our, the ones, you know, everybody supports Conversaciones de Salud, and I want to thank the U of M and UROC for taking time out from your busy schedule, having this wonderful panel of experts to come on and share in a bilingual format with technical challenges, but just being so gracious and informative. And so we, as Douglas Kennedy saying, muchas gracias a todos. And so I want to thank you all again, panel. Thank you very, very much for joining us. Please plan to join us again. We have another comment here. Thank you so much for inviting the Latino voices of Minnesota to participate. So thank you so much, Paulina. Muchas gracias. Como siempre, excellent work in helping us share this information. And we're happy to put this in our e-newsletter. Be sure to subscribe and be sure to reach out, and we can have many more conversations. We're going to send out a survey at the end in the next few days to just see how this conversation went and what else would our audience like to know. And so it will help our prestigious panel to continue their hard work and very diligent plan that they have in place to make sure that everyone is covered and taken care of and feel safe and valued. So muchísimas gracias, y con esto terminamos el programa y le decimos adiós hasta la próxima vez. Panel, muchísimas gracias for joining us. It's been a great honor. Thank you for your kindness, for working with me in past situations, and your professionalness, your professional attitude, and your quick thinking and your expertise is greatly appreciated. So we look forward to many more conversaciones, and we thank you all for joining us. Have a beautiful, wonderful rest of your day. And well, we'll be on Spin. I'm not sure of the dates. St. Paul Neighborhood Network Public TV. Public TV goes right into everybody's home. And it's wonderful to be able to bring something of such value to them. So muchísimas gracias, and we'll let you know when to tune in on that channel. So have a beautiful day. Adiós.
Thank you.
Gracias. Y adiós.